Good morning, everyone. And there's, quite frankly, nothing happy or joyful about this press conference today. It is heartbreaking. The City of Harrisburg Public Works team goes to the homeless encampment under the Mulberry Street Bridge twice a week to clean up trash and make it more livable for the folks there. It used to be once a week, but the trash has accumulated so fast that it is now multiple times weekly, with piles of trash scattered and not being disposed of properly. On a recent visit there, our workers were cleaning up when they encountered dozens of large rats in and out of trash receptacles. Some of our workers were nearly bit, and if our workers are almost getting bit, our thoughts immediately went to the well-being of the people who live there. Has anyone there been bit? Are they in danger, and are other residents of the city in danger? On top of that, our police officers have said the area under the Mulberry Street Bridge has seen a recent spike in violent crime, drug usage and overdoses, sex workers, rapes, stabbings, and shootings. It is with all this in mind that the decision was made to give the area under the Mulberry Street Bridge a full cleanup. What does this mean? Unfortunately, in order to clean up the full space, everyone currently residing there must leave. This is gut-wrenching. Nobody wants to do this, but it has to be done for the safety of everyone involved. About a dozen human service agencies were there this morning performing their weekly outreach and informing the people there what we are telling you now. We are telling everyone there that they must collect their belongings and move out by the end of the day next Thursday, January 19th, at which point a full sanitation clear-out will occur. We have with us today Public Works Director Dave West, Denise Hill, the Director of Building and Housing Development here in the City of Harrisburg, and also on the Board of Directors of the Capital Area Coalition of Homelessness, and Randy Yeager, who's the Dauphin County Director of Human Services. They each will be able to go into greater detail of what happens next and the resources available for homeless throughout the city. We want to stress that this is the absolute last thing anyone wants to do. These are decisions which affect people's lives, and it is heartbreaking for everyone involved. However, we are dealing with a potential public health emergency, and it is the responsibility of the people in this building, including Mayor Williams, to act in the best interest of all the people of Harrisburg to ensure safety. With that, I will turn it over to Public Works Director Dave West.
Good morning, everyone. As it has been stated that, yes, it is a very dangerous and hazardous situation over under the Mulberry Street Bridge. There's one thing the employees of the sanitation department can deny and refuse to work is if something happens unsafe, immoral, or unethical. And these are the above statuses of picking up the waste over at the encampment. You know, the rats are very large. They're jumping out of the trash cans, they're jumping out of the dumpsters as my employees are trying to haul the trash away. Because it's unsafe, they refuse to do it any longer, and I cannot make them pick the trash up. Also, you know, through the donations that are received throughout the encampment, there's a lot of food waste on the ground around the encampment itself, which festers the rodents even more. So it is a very dangerous and hazardous situation that must be taken care of, because it's only going to get worse if we don't do anything about it. Thank you.
Denise Hill is here again. She's the Director of Building and Housing Development here in the city. She's also on the Board of Directors for the Capital Area Coalition on Homelessness.
Good morning. While this is an incredibly difficult challenge to deal with, it is necessary for the health and safety for all involved in the city at large. The City of Harrisburg collaborates with organizations who provide services to individuals experiencing homelessness. We will continue to do so. This situation has been exacerbated by the examples previously mentioned by my colleagues. Funding through the Department of Building and Housing Development's Emergency Solutions Grant is provided to organizations combating homelessness in the City of Harrisburg. Those entities work tirelessly to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone that they serve. So much so, they have done extensive outreach efforts at the Mulberry Street encampment on a weekly basis to assist those who want the help. We are exploring alternative housing options within the city to support these efforts on a more long-term basis. However, the safety and health hazards occurring at the encampment create a sense of emergency and urgency that cannot be ignored or delayed.
And lastly, Randy Yeager, who is the Director of Human Services for Dauphin County, is here to speak about some of the resources that are made available to the Harrisburg homeless community.
Thank you. Good morning. One of the benefits of the timing of this really serious situation is that our overnight shelters are open and operating, and we have not yet reached full capacity in any of those winter overnight shelters. So there are options for our homeless residents to enter the shelters from 7 p.m. in the evening until 7 a.m. the next morning. There are numerous locations for food and supplies, even laundry services once a month. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I would just like to say that the Capital Area Coalition on Homelessness dedicates an enormous amount of time, energy, and effort to serving this population. And we all are struggling with this really difficult situation. Thank you.
At this point, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Now, do you know about how many people might be displaced?
You say about
50 to 65.
around 50 to 65.
And do you have any idea where they might go?
Randy, do you want to take that? Okay.
So out of that number, we do know that not all of those who enter the encampment on a daily basis are actually homeless. There is a smaller portion that are homeless and have contact with our human services staff several times a week, actually, offering mental health resources, drug and alcohol resources. The other folks who are down at the encampment have other places to be. So we're talking about less than half who we need to look at alternatives, which is why the winter overnights are really important.
And how about the situation at the PennDOT building? I mean, I know there was a fire there over the weekend. Is that just as bad as anything that happened regarding that area?
I'll answer your second question first. We're not asking anyone in the PennDOT South Front Street encampment to leave. This is about the Mulberry Street Bridge 1, which has become, as we've described, a public health emergency. Randy can, I think, speak about some of the resources that are made available to the folks down by the South Front Street encampment.
So our weekly outreach occurs at each of those encampments, and then over time, if we learn of some new area that folks are staying in, we then outreach to those areas as well. It's a minimum of once a week, but again, that depends on the needs, and our staff are out there across human services and crisis intervention daily.
What can people do with their belongings during this relocation if they are someone who is going to have to stay in an overnight shelter? I assume that they're not able to be there during the day, that's just for nighttime.
There are some daytime drop-in center capacities. Downtown Daily Bread has been a long-standing partner of the coalition, and they do offer daytime drop-in centers. The challenge is capacity, and that's why the locations for food and coffee and warming stations that a lot of the local churches participate in are so important. In terms of belongings, we're asking them to pack them in a way that they can transport the most important things.
Randy, you had mentioned, shelters are not yet at capacity. Is there enough room in those shelters that can house
Not 60, because we do know that not 60 people are actually homeless who visit those encampments on a daily basis. But there is capacity to handle the winter overnight needs for the folks who we know have been on the streets for a long time.
And I just want to add real quick. No, it's okay. The city is kicking around some ideas. We have had some preliminary discussions about some ideas on making, I guess you could call a semi-permanent type of solution for some of the encampment residents to go. And we hope to have more information on that in the coming weeks.
What might that look like, even,
Again, we're exploring what some of those places, a more permanent or semi-permanent location might look like and where it would be in the city, but we're in the very early stages of that right now.
Are you worried about anyone who's under the bridge now not following this order?
We hope that people will follow the order. The simple fact of the matter is, perhaps they won't. That's just the simple fact of the matter is, but what we are asking, what we're focused on, which is why we're giving a week's notice, is for everyone to be out by Thursday, January 19th.
Is there a plan if they don't?
We will explore that when it comes.
what happens to those who may have mobility issues?
So weekly, we have healthcare providers participate in the weekly outreach. Folks have been able to be pretty mobile, so we will maintain contact with those who we might have concerns with, and that's what happens every Thursday. But we are not seeing that as a significant need right now, because those folks who do have some physical challenges have been able to access services across the city.
Are you worried about there being health concerns? I mean, I know you said these rats almost bit your public works workers. Obviously, there are people who have been living with these rats for weeks, maybe. I mean, what's the potential that some of them have been bitten by rats? I mean, do we know if these rats are carrying diseases, and now you're putting these people in shelters with other people?
I don't know if people have been bitten. We don't exchange private health information with our health teams that go out with us. That's just not something we participate in. But the health services are available on a weekly basis, and I certainly am worried for everybody's health and safety.
Are you addressing, maybe they don't know, the people who are already, coming to these shelters where you're now saying these other people can come, are there worries from them about these other people coming in, and how are you addressing those concerns?
So there aren't necessarily defined separate groups. The winter overnight shelters have been accessed by almost everyone so far this winter, and I could say the same thing about a decade full of winters. So there's already been contact because folks travel in and out to all of the services that we provide.
And Alyssa, I just want to add that when the agencies go out to these encampments every week, the folks who live there are offered to have basically given a health check. It is up to them whether to accept that health check or refuse it. Once we heard about the rats that were there and the possibility of them biting, that's when the decision was made that this needs to be done yesterday. This is urgent. How do you balance that? How do you humanely balance that and give people enough time where we realize that this is a heavy burden of asking someone to uproot themselves once again? That is a heavy, heavy burden that we have to adhere to. So how do we humanely balance that? And that's where we determined a week's notice is a fair time to ask them in the hopes that we can eliminate any potential future health scare.
You're asking them to leave just so that we have the cleanup? Will they be able to come back after?
No. We will have police patrolling the area in the days and weeks following to ensure that no one comes back once the cleanup happens. Justin? Okay. Dave, you want to handle that?
24 to 48 hours it would take to clean the entire area the way that it needs to be cleaned. And
What does that process look like?
the process is we're going to bring in heavy equipment. We'll bring in loaders, we'll bring in skid loaders, we'll have rakes, we'll have hands-on, we'll have the complete highway department team, and we'll clean up the large stuff to continue down to the debris, so everything can be maintained and sanitized in that entire area.
Do you have a date for that? Will it be the 19th, 20th?
We would like the residents to be out on the 19th.
What about the cleanup though?
The cleanup will consist after the residents are vacant from the property.
On the 19th, 20th, 21st? Do you have a date yet for that?
When the residents are removed from the property, once they leave the property, we will continue to clean up.
And just so from here on out, it's not a matter of just making sure that the rats are gone. From here on out, there will be nobody living underneath the bridge.
That's correct.
So do you expect the PennDOT encampment to grow bigger?
We don't know if that will grow. The PennDOT encampment has a structure and a neighborhood environment. That will be up to those folks in that area. All of our encampments have to be safe for everyone involved. And that will be up to the decision of each individual who currently is at the Mulberry Street Bridge.
Larry, I know you had a question.
In general, do you think that the homeless situation in Harrisburg is growing, or is the situation getting worse over the last few years, for example?
So the homeless numbers overall have grown. There was a decline during the height of the pandemic in numbers. It certainly has gone back to pre-pandemic numbers. But the number of folks on the street has not significantly increased. The number of folks in shelter facilities and other situations where they are staying with family or friends, that has been the largest increase from the data that I have.
Do we know why?
Rent is a significant barrier. It is not cost effective for most of our folks on a fixed income or extremely low income. The type of units available are not within their reach.
And just what we want to, excuse me, just follow up with that. I know Denise had, there's things that we're working on here in the administration that hopefully help deal with some of the rent issues that people are discussing. And I know Denise can talk about that more succinctly than I can.
Yeah, so one of the mayor's most noted initiatives since coming into office has always been affordable housing, working with developers to provide new or significantly renovated affordable housing that individuals on a fixed income or unable to increase their income are actually able to afford. Also working with council and our law bureau to put legislation in place that makes affordable living a reality here in the city.
Is that part of what makes the decision hard, as you all have noted today, just because a lot of those projects are still in the process, still in the works? and
Absolutely,
while this needs to
absolutely.
happen now?
Yes, so the sense of urgency for the health hazard is right now. However, these projects and initiatives are long-term, and it takes time to put them in place and get them up and running. But we understand that we are dealing with citizens here in the city. So the balance between that has been difficult and what has really been a unique challenge for us to navigate, and keeping that in mind. And as Matt stated, doing this in a very humane and tactful way as much as possible without creating a greater risk to everyone in the city.
So we should see legislation coming down. I know there's a potential ARPA money that might be deployed to that, but we should see something coming down in the next couple of months.
So if approved as proposed, there is a component of the ARPA funds or American Rescue Plan Act that would lend to the affordable housing initiative of the mayor. At this time, I can't say that it'll be within the next couple of weeks or next couple of months, but that is absolutely the goal.
I'm not sure if there's any way for you guys to know this at this point, but have there been reports, like how far out have these rats traveled? Are they like mostly, still under the bridge area, or are there reports of them in other parts of the city at this point?
There has been no other reports of the rats anywhere other than the, what has been seen by my team of sanitation workers
And they've only been seen there under the bridge?
in that area alone.
How recently did you say that you guys discovered the rats?
It's been about 2 weeks now. And we continue to try to maintain the health hazard of continuing to pick up the trash until it just became beyond their measures. It was just unsafe for them. So we had to cease.
So that means it's been 2 weeks since any trash has been collected from that area as well?
It's been a week currently. What we have done is we have placed 2 what we call front load dumpsters there. And those are containers that you do not have to touch. It's grabbed by a truck from the front, dumped at the top where no one has to touch it currently. So that's what we have asked of the encampment to try to put their trash into those containers, but the program is not working the way that it should. The containers are only half full for the most part. We have been going to the encampment twice a week and cleaning the area ourselves, and that's what we have to cease.
Anything else? Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate it.